The stars stretched endlessly across the dark sky, each one a distant sun in a galaxy that seemed calm, yet carried secrets of unimaginable dangers. Captain Haejin Kim stood at the control panel of the small Earth spaceship Ardent, staring at the blinking lights that warned of incoming signals. His brow furrowed, worry etched into his face. He had never seen anything like it. The ship's sensors had picked up a distress signal, an SOS unlike anything previously recorded. It was urgent, desperate, and somehow familiar. The message repeated in cycles, weak but persistent. "This is Earth, we need help. Immediate evacuation required." Haejin frowned. The signal seemed to come from a nearby human colony on the planet Dine, a frontier world far beyond the established colonies. Haejin turned to his communications officer, Subin Lee, a young woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. "Can you trace it?" he asked. Subin's fingers danced across the controls. "It's coming from the surface of Dain, Captain. But the reading is strange. The planet's atmosphere should block such a strong signal." Haejin's heart skipped a beat. Something was very wrong. Dain had always been a peaceful world, with colonies for mining and research. No major military presence, no signs of conflict. And yet the SOS felt different, urgent, almost alive. "Set course," Haejin ordered, his voice steady but firm. "We don't know what we're walking into, but we can't ignore a human SOS." The Ardent accelerated into faster-than-light travel, leaving streaks of white and blue light across the void. Inside the ship, tension was thick. Crew members whispered quietly to each other, glancing at the monitors that showed the rapidly approaching planet. Ji-won Park, the ship's engineer, leaned against the wall, shaking her head. "Why would a small colony need help? They aren't a strategic hub or anything." "It's not about strategy," Haejin replied. "It's about people. If they're in danger, we answer." As the Ardent approached Dain, the planet came into view. Its surface was jagged and wild, a true death world with harsh forests, acidic rivers, and massive storms that raged across its plains. The colonies were small and spread apart, almost invisible from orbit. But below, a faint glow of fires and smoke marked the SOS signal's origin. Haejin activated the ship's external sensors. "We need to know what we're facing before we land." "I don't want to send anyone down blindly." Subin's voice trembled slightly. "Captain, there are strange ships in orbit. They're not ours. They're massive, and they're armed." Haejin's eyes narrowed. He had seen military hardware before, but nothing like these ships. Towering and jagged, the vessels looked almost alive, with hulls that shimmered like scales. The crew fell silent, staring at the holographic display. "They're Deathworlders," Ji-won said quietly. "Legends say no one survives an encounter with them. They consume planets, entire colonies. If that SOS came from them, it's already too late." Haejin clenched his fists. He had heard the stories as a child. The Deathworlders were thought to be unstoppable, a nightmare species that the galaxy feared. Yet here they were, and the SOS had somehow reached them, reached Earth's forces. "Prepare for a landing," Haejin ordered, his voice calm but resolute. "We have a mission. Find survivors if we can, fight if we must. We don't abandon our own." The descent to the planet's surface was rough. The atmosphere of Dain was thick and turbulent, with winds strong enough to toss small ships like toys. Lightning split the skies, and the ground below was a maze of jagged rocks and burning craters. Yet the Ardent pressed on, guided by Haejin's skilled hands and Subin's precise calculations. When the landing bay finally opened, the crew stepped onto the surface, their boots sinking into a mix of ash and soil. The air was thick and acrid, carrying the smell of fire and chemical decay. Fires burned across the colony and smoke curled into the sky. Small buildings were shattered, their walls scarred by unknown weapons. From behind a ridge, a figure ran toward them. It was a woman, her clothes torn and smudged with dirt. Her eyes were wide with fear, but they held a spark of hope. "Help! Thank God you're here," she shouted. Her voice was strained but strong. Haejin stepped forward. "We're here to help." "What happened?" "I'm Hana Choi," she said, catching her breath. "The Deathworlders, they attacked. They came from orbit, and our defenses, we didn't stand a chance. Please, you have to evacuate the survivors." Haejin's jaw tightened. The Deathworlders were no ordinary threat. He had to think fast. "How many survivors?" he asked. "About 50, Hana replied. "If we don't leave soon, none of us will survive." Haejin glanced back at his crew. "We can't carry everyone at once. Ji-won, calculate the maximum load. Sobin, start communications. We'll need to coordinate. The crew worked quickly. The SOS had indeed summoned more than they realized. As the calculations came in, a sudden alarm sounded on the Ardent. Captain, sensors detect hundreds of ships leaving orbit, Subin said, her voice trembling. They're moving toward us. Hagen's heart sank. The Deathworlders were faster than expected, and their fleet was enormous. There was no way a small Earth vessel could face them directly. Yet somewhere in the chaos, hope lingered. The SOS had done more than call for help. It had awakened something ancient, something powerful. Hana looked at Hagen, desperation clear in her eyes. If we don't act now, they'll destroy the entire colony. Hagen nodded. Then we act. Everyone, get to the ships. Evacuate as many as possible. We fight only if we have to. No one dies alone. As the humans scrambled, the first Deathworlder ships appeared on the horizon, massive silhouettes against the burning sky. Their engines roared like thunder, and their weapons glowed with deadly intent. Yet amidst the fear, a strange energy rippled across the surface. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it caused the ground to shake slightly and the winds to shift. Hana noticed it first. Do you feel that? She whispered. Hagen glanced around, wary. Something is coming. Something the SOS may have called. From the clouds above, a faint fleet emerged, faster and more powerful than anything the humans had seen. Ships of unknown design, sleek yet imposing, with a presence that seemed to bend reality itself. The air thrummed with energy as the fleet descended toward the planet. The Deathworlders paused in surprise. They had not expected this response. Something in the SOS had awakened an unstoppable force, an ancient human fleet known only in legend as the Deathworlders' equal, capable of turning the tide of any battle. Hagen gritted his teeth. The real fight had only just begun. The strange fleet hovered over Dain, their shapes shimmering under the planet's stormy skies. The humans on the ground froze, unsure whether the ships were allies or a new threat. Hagen Kim tightened his grip on the console inside the Ardent, his eyes never leaving the displays. They're here to help, Hana Choi whispered, awe and fear mixed in her voice. I've heard stories. Stories that our ancestors fought alongside humans who could survive anything. Hagen didn't reply immediately. He had heard those legends too. Tales of warriors from old Earth who could face impossible odds, who were called the Deathworlders because no one else could survive where they went. But these were supposed to be myths. Myths didn't come down from the sky in ships larger than mountains. The Deathworlders in orbit above Dain had begun to organize, forming ranks and moving closer to the planet's surface. Their weapons powered up, glowing bright red and orange. Even from the Ardent, Hagen could feel the heat of their energy as if the stars themselves were preparing to burn the world. Captain, Subin Lee said, pointing to the main view screen. They're targeting the colony. If we don't act, everyone on the ground will die in minutes. Hagen nodded. We have to buy time for the evac. Jiwon, get the transport bays ready. We'll start shuttling survivors immediately. Jiwon Park, already in motion, muttered under her breath. I never thought we'd fight Deathworlders before breakfast. She shook her head, trying to focus. Transports are ready. We can carry 10 at a time. Hana looked at Hagen, her eyes wide. 10 at a time? That's going to take forever. They'll reach the colony before we finish. Hagen's jaw tightened. Then we make the Deathworlders hesitate. We need them to think twice before firing. We need a distraction. From the clouds above, the first of the mysterious fleet began to descend closer to the Deathworlders. Their ships moved with strange elegance, almost as if they were alive. Light pulsed across their hulls, forming strange patterns that seemed to communicate without words. One massive vessel broke away and hovered just above the ground. A low hum resonated through the soil, rattling windows and shaking debris. The humans instinctively took cover, their ears filled with the sound of raw power. Hagen felt it in his chest, a vibration that made his bones ache. It's okay, he told his crew, though his own voice wavered. They're with us. Hana, still shaken, nodded. I can't believe this. The legends were real. Outside, the Deathworlders hesitated. Their weapons pulsed, then paused. They sensed the new fleet, something stronger and more dangerous than they had expected. Even they, known for their ruthlessness and indifference, were wary. Hagen took the chance. Start the evac, he ordered. Subin, Jiwon, move as fast as possible. Hana, lead the survivors to the shuttles. The humans moved quickly, loading the first group into the transports. Fear and urgency pushed them faster than they had ever moved before. Children clung to parents and the elderly shuffled toward safety, eyes wide at the strange fleet above. Suddenly, a shockwave hit. The Deathworlder fleet had opened fire, energy beams slicing through the ground where the colony had been moments ago. Buildings crumbled, sending fire and smoke into the sky. Hana screamed, shielding a child as the heat washed over them. Heijin's hands flew over the controls. Evasive maneuvers! Full power shields! We cannot let them hit the transports. The Ardent shuddered as the first blast struck its hull. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the ship tilted dangerously. But the strange fleet above acted quickly. Their ships unleashed beams of blue energy that intercepted the Deathworlder's weapons, cutting through the attacks like water through sand. Jiwon's voice was tense. Captain, the shields won't hold much longer. We need more time. Heijin's mind raced. He had to keep the transport safe, evacuate the survivors, and survive long enough for the mysterious fleet to make a move. Then we fight back, he said, more to himself than anyone else. We cannot run. Not now. He activated the ship's energy cannons, firing at the Deathworlder's advancing units. The blasts struck metal that seemed unyielding, but small cracks appeared, evidence that even the unstoppable could be tested. Hana, holding two children, watched from the ground. She noticed something unusual. The mysterious fleet above wasn't firing directly. Instead, their energy rippled across the landscape, almost like a shield spreading outward. Where the energy touched, the Deathworlder's weapons faltered, their energy failing before it could reach the humans. They're protecting us, Hana whispered. Her fear slowly turned to awe. They're fighting for us. Heijin noticed it too. Each blast from the mysterious fleet disrupted the Deathworlder's attack, creating windows of opportunity. He seized one and signaled the first transport to launch. The ship lifted off, carrying 10 survivors toward safety, the fleet above covering them from the incoming fire. Again, Heijin shouted, adrenaline surging. Keep them moving. Every second counts. Transport after transport lifted off the surface, each one filled with terrified but hopeful humans. Hana guided them, keeping order amidst chaos. Children clung to her as if she were their anchor in a storm. The Deathworlders roared in frustration. Their attacks became more desperate, less coordinated. Even the humans aboard the Ardent could see cracks in the enemy's strategy. They were powerful but not invincible. Suddenly, a massive Deathworlder ship descended, its weapons glowing hotter than the rest. Heijin knew that if it reached the colony, all hope would be lost. He had to act. G1 full-power engines. We're intercepting, he said, his voice calm despite the fear gripping him. Subin, prepare the energy cannons. We hit their main ship and hold them off. Jiwan's hands flew over the controls. Engines at maximum. We can't outrun them for long. But we can try. The Ardent moved like lightning across the battlefield, weaving between blasts and debris. Heijin aimed at the massive Deathworlder ship. Every shot counted, every maneuver was critical. The strange fleet above seemed to sense his intentions, shifting slightly, covering him as he approached. Hana, watching from the surface, held her breath. You can do this, she whispered. We have to survive. We must. The first hit struck the Deathworlder ship's hull. Sparks erupted, metal twisted, and a low groan of structural stress echoed across the battlefield. It wasn't enough to destroy it, but it was enough to slow it. The remaining Deathworlder ships paused, regrouping. The humans had bought precious time. The transports moved safely through the skies, carrying survivors to orbit where other Earth vessels waited. Heijin knew the battle was far from over. The Deathworlders would not retreat. They were relentless, unstoppable, or so everyone had believed. Yet for the first time he saw that maybe legends and reality could meet. The mysterious fleet hovered, silent yet alive, like guardians awakened by the SOS. They were strange, powerful and clearly human allies of an ancient kind. Heijin felt a spark of hope he hadn't felt in years. As the last transport lifted off, Hana ran to Heijin, her eyes shining. We made it. Thanks to them, and to you. Heijin shook his head. It's not over, not yet. But we've survived the first wave. That's something. Above them, the strange fleet shimmered, their energy creating ripples across the sky. The Deathworlders regrouped, and the air was thick with the promise of more battle. Yet for the humans of Daiyin, for Heijin and his crew, the impossible had happened. The SOS had summoned help that was unstoppable, fierce, and very much alive. The first step had been taken, but the war for survival was only beginning. The skies over Dane were still filled with smoke and fire. The humans who had survived the first wave of attack looked up at the strange fleet above and felt a mixture of awe and fear. Haejin Kim stood on the bridge of the Ardent, his hands gripping the controls as he studied the battle unfolding. "Captain," Subin Lee said, pointing at the main screen, "the Deathworlders aren't retreating. They're reorganizing. There are more of them than we thought." Haejin frowned. "Then we prepare. We can't outrun them and we can't hide. We fight, but we fight smart. Jiwon, check all systems. Every weapon, every shield, every engine. We need everything at full capacity." Jiwon Park nodded, already moving through the control panels. "Engines at max. Shields stable. Energy cannons online. I've also rerouted some power to the transport bays just in case we need to evacuate fast." Hana Choi, standing near the crew, held two children close. Her eyes were wide, still trembling from the last attack. "I can't believe they survived," she whispered. "Those ships, they're like giants but alive." "They are alive," Haejin said quietly, "and they're with us. That's all that matters right now." Outside, the Deathworlders began to move as one massive wave. Their ships glided over the planet, weapons glowing, engines roaring. They struck fear into anyone who watched, but the humans were determined. They had survived once, and they would survive again. Haejin activated the communication system. "To all transports, maintain altitude, stay behind the Ardent, and follow my commands. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. Subin, keep monitoring their formations. Ji-won, prepare to fire on my mark." The first of the Deathworlder attack ships came closer, firing beams of red energy that cut through the clouds. The Ardent maneuvered around the blasts, weaving through the chaos like a small bird among giants. Ji-won fired the energy cannons, striking the incoming ships. Sparks and small explosions erupted on the Deathworlder hulls, but they barely slowed. Still, Haejin could see small cracks forming. Even the unstoppable could be tested. Hana watched from the ground as one of the mysterious fleet ships descended. Its hull shone like silver under the stormy sky, and a strange hum filled the air. The ground vibrated, and for a moment it felt like the planet itself was breathing. Haejin glanced at her. "That's their leader," he said. "Whatever it is, it's strong. Trust it. Follow its moves." The leader ship moved toward the largest Deathworlder vessel. Energy beams collided in the sky, sending sparks and fire raining down. The humans on the ground and aboard the Ardent felt the heat even from a distance. The battle had intensified, and the Deathworlders were no longer just hunting, they were fighting. "Subin," Haejin said, "plot a course to flank their main ship. We need to distract them and give the transports a chance to escape." Subin nodded, fingers flying over the controls. "Course plotted, but we'll be exposed. If they hit us..." Her voice trailed off. "They won't," Haejin said, though his heart thudded in his chest. "We have allies. Trust in them." The Ardent moved swiftly, cutting across the battlefield and dodging the Deathworlders' weapons. Haejin aimed the energy cannons at the main ship, firing in bursts to distract it. Sparks and flames erupted from the alien hull and the ship slowed slightly, giving the mysterious fleet the opening it needed. Ji-won shouted, "Now! Focus fire!" The mysterious fleet's leader unleashed a massive wave of energy that swept across the Deathworlder fleet. Ships were thrown off course, weapons disabled, engines sputtering. The humans on the Ardent and the survivors on the ground stared in disbelief. The unstoppable Deathworlders were being pushed back. Hana held the children tighter. "It's real," she whispered. "They really are fighting for us." Haejin felt a surge of hope. "Keep pushing. We need to clear a path for the remaining transports. Every second counts." The Deathworlders regrouped, but the humans and the mysterious fleet had learned their weakness. Their attacks became more coordinated, targeting specific ships and avoiding wasted energy. Each transport lifted off safely, carrying terrified but alive humans to orbit. One massive Deathworlder ship broke away and charged directly at the Ardent. Haejin maneuvered quickly, dodging its attack, but the ship was fast and powerful. "Ji-won, full shields." "Subin, fire at will." Energy beams collided, shaking the Ardent violently. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the ship tilted dangerously. But the mysterious fleet intervened again. A wave of energy struck the incoming Deathworlder ship, pushing it back and giving the humans precious seconds to escape. Hana watched, awe written across her face. "They're unstoppable," she whispered. Just like the legend said, the battle continued for hours. Each time the Deathworlders attacked, the mysterious fleet countered. Each time the humans tried to evacuate, they found new ways to survive. Slowly, piece by piece, the humans and their allies began to turn the tide. Hagen felt exhaustion creeping in, but he refused to show it. "We can't stop now," he said to his crew. "Every ship, every person counts. We survived together." Subin nodded. "We're holding them off. The transports are almost all clear." Jiwan wiped sweat from her brow. "We're doing it, Captain. We're actually doing it." Hana looked at Hagen, hope shining in her eyes. "I never thought I'd see this. Earth, humans, you're not weak. You're strong. Stronger than anyone believed." Hagen felt a small smile. "We fight because we have to. And now, we fight because we can." As the last transport lifted off and joined the others in orbit, the mysterious fleet formed a barrier between the humans and the Deathworlders. The alien ships roared in frustration, but they could not break through. The humans had survived another wave, and the planet of Dane, though scarred, still held life. Hana hugged the children, tears streaming down her face. "We're alive," she said softly. "Because of them, and because of you." Hagen looked out at the sky, at the massive ships that glimmered like living stars. He felt a mixture of relief and determination. The battle was far from over. The Deathworlders were still out there, relentless and powerful. But now the humans had allies. Now they had hope, and hope was a weapon stronger than any energy cannon. The planet of Dane would survive. The humans would survive, and the SOS that had summoned the unstoppable Deathworlder fleet had changed everything. The human transports had reached orbit, carrying the survivors of Dane safely aboard the waiting fleet. Haejin Kim stood on the bridge of the Ardent, staring at the planet below. Fires still burned on the surface, black smoke spiraling into the atmosphere, but the immediate danger had passed. For now. "Subin, status report," Haejin said. Subin Lee's fingers danced across the controls. "All transports are accounted for, Captain. Shields are stable and the survivors are safe for the moment. But the Deathworlders, they've retreated for now." "I think they're regrouping," Haejin nodded. He knew the retreat was temporary. The Deathworlders were patient and relentless. They would return, and when they did, they would be more dangerous than ever. Jiwan Park leaned against the console, wiping sweat from her brow. "That fleet, it's incredible. The way it moves, the way it fights, I've never seen anything like it. It's like it knows exactly what to do." Haejin's eyes remained on the holographic display of the mysterious fleet. "We need answers. We need to understand who they are and why they're helping us. And we need a plan before the Deathworlders come back." Hana Choi approached, still holding the two children. "Captain, they saved everyone," she said softly. "You don't have to fight alone. They're here for a reason." "I know," Haejin replied. "But we can't rely on legends. We need to fight and survive on our own, too." The Ardent followed the transports toward the rendezvous point with Earth's main fleet. Haejin took a deep breath, trying to shake off the tension. The battle on Dane had been a nightmare, but it had also shown him something important. Humans were stronger than anyone believed. Even facing a Deathworlder fleet, they could survive with courage, strategy, and unexpected allies. Suddenly, Subin's voice broke the quiet. "Captain, sensors detect a signal from the mysterious fleet. They're trying to communicate." Haejin's brow furrowed. "Open a channel." A holographic figure appeared in the bridge, shimmering and unclear as if the light itself was alive. Its voice was calm but powerful. "Humans," it said. "You have called us with your SOS. We are the Sentinels. We have waited for this moment for generations." Haejin exchanged a quick glance with Subin and Jiwan. "Sentinels? Why help us? Why now?" The figure's light pulsed slightly. "Your species is on the edge. The Deathworlders have grown strong, and soon they will consume all planets in this sector. Your SOS has awakened the bond between us. We are compelled to act where your survival is threatened." Haejin felt a chill. The legends had been true. There were humans, or beings connected to humans, who were capable of facing the Deathworlders. And now they had chosen to intervene. "So you're on our side?" Hana asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," the Sentinel replied. "But we cannot fight your battles alone. You must learn to survive. You must learn to fight with us, not just behind us. The Deathworlders will return, stronger and more coordinated. Your species must be ready." Haejin nodded slowly. "We will be ready. Tell us what we need to know." The Sentinel's form shimmered and a holographic display of the galaxy appeared, showing countless star systems. The Deathworlders are ancient predators. They consume entire civilizations to grow stronger. They learn quickly, adapt faster, and rarely leave survivors. You have survived one encounter, but this is only the beginning. Their fleet will return larger than before, and they will target every human world they can reach. Jiwan gasped. Every world? That's impossible. How can we stop them? The Sentinel's light pulsed. You will not stop them alone. You must unite. Earth's fleets must coordinate with us. You must learn to fight as we do. Only then can you hope to survive. Heijin clenched his fists. We will. But first we need to protect the survivors and evacuate them to safety. Dane is lost for now, but we can save the people. The Sentinel nodded. Agreed, but you must act quickly. The Deathworlders' scouts are already in this sector. They will locate you soon. You must move beyond this system, prepare for battle, and gather strength. Hana looked at Heijin.
Captain.
What about our families? Our homes? Heijin shook his head. We can't save everything, Hana, but we can save lives. That's what matters. And one day we'll take back what's ours. Subin tapped a few controls.
Captain, we're receiving a fleet from Earth nearby.
They've responded to the SOS too. We can regroup with them and plan a larger defense. Heijin nodded. Good, plot a course. We move immediately. Jiwan, prepare for potential combat during transit. The Deathworlders won't wait for us to get organized. The Ardent led the transports toward the rendezvous point. As they approached, the Earth fleet came into view. Dozens of ships of varying sizes, some armed heavily, others transport vessels carrying more survivors. For the first time in years, Heijin felt a spark of hope. Humans could fight back if they stood together. The Sentinels appeared again, hovering near the fleet. Their presence was reassuring but also humbling. The humans were small and fragile compared to them, yet they had survived because of courage, intelligence, and unity. Heijin spoke to the fleet commander, a tall man named Seojin Lim. We've evacuated survivors from Dane, but the Deathworlders will return. We need to prepare, and we have allies. Seojin's eyes widened slightly. Allies? You mean the Sentinel fleet? Yes, Heijin replied. They're ancient, powerful, and connected to humans in ways we don't fully understand. But we must work with them. They're the only chance we have to survive what's coming. The fleet commander nodded. Then we prepare. Every ship, every crew, every weapon must be ready. The Deathworlders won't show mercy. Heijin turned to his crew. Subin, Jiwan, Hana. We've survived one battle, but the war is just beginning. We've seen what we can survive. Now it's time to learn to fight, to grow stronger, and to stand together. No one will be left behind. The human fleet moved as one, escorted by the Sentinels, leaving the battered world of Dane behind. Fire still burned on the surface, marking the cost of survival. But life had endured. The SOS had summoned the unstoppable fleet, and the humans had answered. But the Deathworlders were patient. They would return, and when they did, the humans and their new allies would face a challenge unlike any they had ever known. Heijin stared out into the stars. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of unknown threats, but for the first time he felt a strange sense of certainty. They would fight. They would survive. And one day, they would make the Deathworlders regret ever targeting humanity. The Ardent led the way, its engines blazing through the void. Behind them, the Sentinels shimmered, guiding, protecting, and teaching. Ahead, the Deathworlders waited, unaware of the storm that was forming against them. A storm born of courage, unity, and the indomitable spirit of humans. The human fleet moved through the blackness of space, guided by the shimmering presence of the Sentinels. Heijin Kim stood on the bridge of the Ardent, staring at the stars, knowing that the Deathworlders would not wait long. Each jump through hyperspace brought them closer to the confrontation that would decide the fate of humanity. Subin, how long until we reach the staging point? Heijin asked. Less than 10 hours, Captain. Subin Lee replied, her fingers flying over the controls. The Deathworlders' scouts are already in this sector. They're detecting our presence. Jiwon Park looked up from the energy controls, tension in her voice. We've survived everything so far, but this could be the final test. I can feel it. Hana Choi, standing near the viewport, held the 2 children she had rescued from Dane. Captain, will everyone survive? She asked softly, fear and hope mixing in her voice. Heijin's gaze remained steady. We survive because we fight together, because we have allies, and because we refuse to give up. The fleet reached the staging point, a massive asteroid field far from any inhabited system. The Sentinels hovered above, their light pulsing like living stars ready to engage. Hygene's fleet gathered in formation, every ship tense, engines humming, weapons primed. Suddenly, the void ahead lit up. The Deathworlder fleet emerged from the darkness, massive, jagged ships bristling with weapons. Hygen felt a chill as he took in the sight. Hundreds of ships, all moving in perfect coordination, all aimed at destruction. Xiaojin Lim, the human fleet commander, spoke over the comms. "This is it. Every ship, every crew fight for humanity. We cannot lose. Not now." The Sentinels shimmered brighter, their energy forming protective barriers around the human fleet. Hygen felt the hum of their power resonate through the Ardent, filling him with courage. "Engage on my mark," he said. "Do not waste energy on small attacks. Focus on the main fleet and protect the transports at all costs." The Deathworlders advanced, red energy beams lighting up the darkness of space. The first shot struck and the Ardent shuddered under the impact. Hygen gritted his teeth, steering through the barrage while returning fire with precision. Jiwan's hands flew over the controls. "Shields holding, Captain. Weapon systems fully operational. Ready to fire on your mark," Hygen nodded. "Do it." The Ardent's cannons fired in unison, striking the leading Deathworlder ships. Explosions rippled through the enemy fleet, but the Deathworlders adapted quickly. They had survived countless battles and learned from each one. Still, the human fleet, guided by Hygen and the Sentinels, held its ground. Hana watched from the command deck, clutching the children. "They're amazing," she whispered. "The Sentinels, they're fighting with us, not just for us." Hygen felt the weight of command pressing down on him. Every decision, every shot, every maneuver could mean life or death. He had survived impossible odds before, but now the entire human race depended on him. "Subin, flank their main ship," he ordered. "We need to weaken their command." "Jiwan, full power to the front cannons. Fire when ready." The Ardent moved swiftly, dodging beams and striking at the Deathworlder's central vessel. Sparks and energy flares erupted as the ship's hull twisted under the assault. The Sentinels unleashed waves of energy that tore through the Deathworlder's formation, pushing them back and giving the humans a fighting chance. The Deathworlders roared in frustration, their attacks more desperate and chaotic. Hygen seized the opportunity, signaling the rest of the fleet to press the attack. Every human ship fired, coordinated with the Sentinels' energy waves, striking with precision and courage. Hana's eyes were wide with amazement. "They're doing it. They're really doing it," she whispered. The humans and the Sentinels, together. The battle raged for hours. Explosions lit up the void, beams of energy collided in blinding flashes, and the human fleet fought with all the strength it could muster. The Deathworlders, though powerful and relentless, were being pushed back. For the first time in centuries, they faced true resistance. Hygen's voice came over the comms. "All ships focus on their central command vessel. Protect the transports at all costs." "We end this now!" The Ardent led the charge, weaving through fire and energy, striking at the Deathworlder's central ship. The Sentinels formed a massive barrier around the humans, their energy pulsing in waves that shattered enemy weapons and shields. Jiwan's voice trembled with excitement. "Captain, the main ship is weakening. Its shields are failing." Hygen gritted his teeth. "All firepower concentrate. We cannot let them recover." The human fleet fired in unison, every ship contributing its strength. The Sentinels' energy surged, enveloping the Deathworlder command ship in a storm of light and power. The hull groaned, sparks flew, and then silence. The massive ship exploded, a brilliant flash that lit up the void. The remaining Deathworlder vessels faltered, disorganized and panicked. One by one they retreated into the darkness, their threat temporarily ended. Hygen exhaled, his body trembling from the intensity of the battle. "It's over. For now," he said. Hana hugged the children tightly, tears streaming down her face. "We survived. We really survived," she whispered. Xiaojin Lim spoke over the comms. "This is just the beginning. The Deathworlders will return, but today humanity proved it can fight. Today we stood together." The Sentinels hovered above the fleet, their light calm and reassuring. One appeared before Hygen. "You have done well, humans. You have survived the first great battle. But remember, the galaxy is vast and threats are many. You must grow stronger, learn, and prepare. The Deathworlders are patient, but so are we." Hygen nodded. "We understand." "We will not falter. We will protect humanity no matter the cost. The fleet gathered itself, tending to the damaged ships and rescuing survivors. The Ardent moved among the transports, ensuring everyone was safe. Heijin looked at the stars, feeling a strange mix of relief and determination. Subin Jiwon. We did it, he said softly. We survived. And we learned something important. We are not weak. We are strong, and we are not alone. Sobin Jiwon Hana. Everyone survived. That's the real victory, Heijin thought, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. As the human fleet moved through space, guided by the Sentinels, Heijin knew the battle was over for now. But the war had only begun. The Deathworlders would return, and the humans must be ready. But for the first time, hope shone brightly across the galaxy. Humanity had survived the impossible. Humanity had fought alongside legends. Humanity had proven that even against unstoppable foes, courage, unity, and determination could turn the tide. Heijin stood on the bridge, staring at the stars. The SOS had summoned the unstoppable Deathworlder fleet, and humanity had answered. The galaxy would remember this day, for it was the day humans stood unbroken, fearless and united. And in that moment, Heijin knew one thing for certain. No matter what came next, humanity would fight, and they would not be defeated.